There's 10 seconds left.
And welcome to another episode of Plug Talk Sports. I'm joined, of course, by always Jonka, myself, Brandon, and last names are not important. What's really important is, though, it's been a lot of great teams, great sports going on in South Florida. Actually, we have a couple of games. We have a game going on right now. I know Jonka has that one on the side, against Syracuse.
Yeah, 4 seconds left. Is up 80-78. And Syracuse just fouled. And there you go. just made the free throw. They're up 3. Let's see. I think they're going to pull this one out.
Well, hopefully they do. has been getting some recent losses kind of back and forth despite being still 17th AP. But I'm still a good squad.
They keep scheduling our games a week in between. 1 week here, 1 week there. We have no consistency.
It's insane. It's insane. But we are going to talk about later on the podcast. As we usually do on Plug Talk Sports, we're going to start with good thing of the week or bad thing of the week. So, Jonka, what do you want to start? The best thing this week or the worst thing this week for you?
No, let's start good.
Okay, that'll be good.
I mean, first thing off the bat, it's official. Just won 82-78.
All right, go Canes.
No.
All right.
And it would have to be I retweeted it on my Twitter that my Yankees have signed the 9th-ranked international prospect outfielder Brandon Mejia. He's a 17-year-old from Havana, Cuba.
Oh, okay. Cuba represents
$4.4 million deal. So represent the house.
There you go. Unfortunately, not a Marlin guy, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
Either way, as long as he makes it. What I would say the best thing for me, I mean, it's just got to be getting back in the groove of things. You know, I had like my first week of classes not too long ago, so doing that, of course, also still writing articles for the papers that I do as well. For the Alligator. And of course, soon I'll be having a lot of stuff coming out here for Plug Talk Sports. And of course, I suggest everybody goes on to our website to look at some of the recent articles that we had. I know that we had a recent MMA one. But the best thing I wanted to say, getting back into the groove, classes are good. And honestly, I'm not saying it's going to be, easy this semester, but I have a good feeling, though. I have a good feeling. So what about you for worst part of this week?
Worst. Well, if you guys didn't know, I started FIU this week. Last week. First day, man, I could not find parking for the life of me. I went into 3 different garages. I couldn't find a single spot, and I ended up having to pay at a meter parking on the first floor because I had like 20 minutes left before class started. I didn't even know where the class was.
Oh my gosh! Dude.
So I just had to score, bro. $2, $3, whatever. First day. Went running around. I was like, hey, where's this? Where's that? Ended up finding it with like 5 minutes left. Plugs.
Yeah, because I remember when I was there for like my first 2 years. I mean, FIU, man. I mean, especially if it's like the main campus, it's hard to find anything, man. That's actually a bigger campus than people think. It's not like the Biscayne one. It's like they got one side here and the other side goes probably past Kendall. Like it's just huge. This is huge. But what I would say for the worst part, and I could probably. Pretty sure the entire state of Florida can agree on this. The weather is so cold, man. It is.
I love it,
dude. Like, because again, I'm here in northern Florida now. I'm not in South Florida no more. It was like 29 degrees the other night. I'm still cold myself. It was like 49. I'm wearing a hoodie, beanie, everything like that. I'm trying to get the beard because I guess it adds on warmth. I know it's gonna get back to 70s and all that stuff. But bro, I'm not built like that. I'm not built for the cold weather. My skin, I'm just not built for it, man.
Yeah.
It's different. different. I just feel frigid. You know what I mean? I mean that's a different vocab word, but yeah. But either way. Now we get that out of the way. Let's go into probably one of the biggest discussions in all of South Florida sports at the moment: the Miami Dolphins season ending in Buffalo. Funny enough,
Yeah,
it's going to be the third time we go against our AFC East rivals, the Buffalo Bills, and this one was another close game compared to what a lot of people thought. Buffalo ended up winning it 34-31 in Buffalo on the playoffs. Actually, funny enough, Buffalo was up 14-0 going out of that first quarter. And then the Dolphins, they regrouped themselves. Skylar Thompson, honestly, it might have been even a legacy game for him and Jason Sanders because they seem to be the most accurate guys out there until you went to the second half of the game. But the Dolphins scored 17 points in that second quarter. They ended up taking back the lead going into the first drive, I think, of that third quarter, where they're able to strip sack
yeah,
Josh Allen, where they're able to get the defensive touchdown. And then from there, Bills put on 10 points. Dolphins can't respond.
yeah.
And of course, the game ended, and I know we'll talk about later on when we're on this subject, but the game ended in kind of a weird, I don't even know how to describe it because McDaniels was just like confused after the post conference. But John, I mean, what do you have to make of it?
I was like, once the Dolphins took that 24-20 lead, I was just like, are the Dolphins really gonna like with a third string quarterback really gonna beat Josh Allen and the Bills?
Right.
Like I
They're
was
right
in
there.
shock. Like I was getting some water while that happened, and I look at the TV and I'm like, yo, you're kidding. And all of a sudden, there goes Josh Allen, bing, bing, boom, down the touchdown,
No, yeah.
and
And
then
there was, I mean, I have to admit though, there were like some calls because I think the referees in this game, they were pretty good, but there were some calls that like it could have gone the other way. Like
yeah,
Stephon Diggs before the end of like the half, I think when he had like that toe drag, but apparently he had
I think it's a
possession of it.
touchdown.
I
I
thought
thought,
it was a touchdown too, to be honest. But apparently they're saying like the ball drifted across his arm before he had possession with it.
yeah,
But
the
that
thing,
could easily be a
what they
touchdown.
said was, I think it's a touchdown because he had his foot was still on the ground
Right.
when the ball touched his hand, and
Yeah.
they're saying it wasn't a touchdown because he bobbled the ball
Hmm.
on his way out. I'm like, okay, but did the ball hit the floor though? Like,
Yeah.
did he not? Could the ball legit in any way touch the ground? No, like what is the catch now? Okay, so one handed, do I officially have control of it or do I not? Like, I don't understand what's the point of it. I
No,
think
yeah.
that's a touchdown, but
Honestly, if you ask me personally, though, I've been an advocate about this. They got to make it the same way as college. I think they just need to have, if you make it through college, it's got to be at least the same rules going into the professional level.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
1 foot, you got a hand on it, whatnot. You know what I mean? Because the whole part of like, oh, he has it obviously for 3 seconds, but he doesn't like secure it
Yeah,
until it goes out. I mean, that's just a little weird to me. But besides that, let's actually look at the stats because speaking of, as we mentioned before, a Skylar Thompson legacy game, it really did look like that. Besides going 18-45 in overall, completion attempts and ratio, 220 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And believe it or not, both of those interceptions, I believe, were a result of Bill's points, especially his last one, resulting in Buffalo regaining the lead and then later on getting a field goal
yeah,
to escape from this one, 34-31. But I don't know, man. Seventh round quarterback out of Kansas State. The guy comes in out of nowhere this season through two injuries, through Teddy Bridgewater broken fingers, and he's playing in Buffalo
hmm
for probably the first time the Dolphins have ever seen postseason play in a very long time, since 2016. And fitting enough, a backup quarterback doing it once again, such as Matt Moore did before. But for you, Jonka, from Skyler's performance, do you think it's enough to say that the Miami Dolphins want to keep him? And I mean, I'm not saying like he's the next guy, but a potential experiment in the future,
that's tough.
right? Because I mean, I honestly think so. Honestly, in my opinion, he has the arm, right? I think there was a lot of throws in the beginning of that game that were super accurate. It's just for like one in a million, Waddle and Tyreek Hill were dropping balls like nothing.
I think
So
there were a lot of plays where he showed that he has the arm, but
right,
then there are a lot of other plays where Tyreek or Waddle or Cedric Wilson were wide open, and they were deep, but
Wide open.
he just didn't see them. I'm like, maybe that's why he's not getting. Maybe I think that's all because he's not doesn't have reps with them. He doesn't have the chemistry with them. So maybe that's why. Man, to keep him though, I don't know.
Yeah, because I actually was getting a bunch of text messages back and forth from people down home. A lot of people are saying, because again, Skylar Thompson, obviously people are more focused on Tua coming back next season. As Chris Greer said, that he is the guy for next year without hesitation either, which I was kind of surprised about, knowing that Lamar Jackson's up in the air, knowing that the draft obviously you could get somebody, but Skylar Thompson, I mean, he didn't disappoint. I'll say that at least for a seventh round guy, he broke my expectations, and the ceiling I think is going to be high from next year. But staying on the quarterback, as I mentioned before, because obviously we can't go around it. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins in the 2023 season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, Jock, I know you're a Patriots fan. However, the way that this division has gone, especially in this season, I'm not saying Buffalo is going to get down in the next 3 years where we don't see them being as dominant as they are right now, especially in this division. But how long do you think like these teams are going to like just pop out from the AFC East and make it into the playoffs? Two teams this year. I mean, who knows? The Pats and the Jets still alive in like week 17, week
Mm-hmm.
18. I mean, it's going to be hard to see.
This is what I've been saying. Like this is we know the Bills are going to be good,
Right.
but it took an a defensive coordinator as the Patriots offensive coordinator, if that makes sense to everybody,
Yeah.
to decide to be the deciding fate for the Dolphins season. Make that make sense. And then it's like then you have an injured Jets team, which took the Dolphins to the very brink, and this, and it's like also then you got Tua, who's dealing with these concussions, and you're wondering like, oh, is he gonna be good? And then I put this in, and then I start thinking about, okay, what if the Dolphins did we beat the Buffalo Bills this past weekend?
Right.
Would Tua play next week? Probably not.
Probably not. I don't
And
think
then
so.
let's say that did happen, and let's say he doesn't play, then you start to think to yourself, bro, like how beat up is this kid? Like, are you
Yeah.
serious? It's
No,
gonna
because I'm telling you right now, I feel like he's getting the Ryan Tannehill treatment. The Miami O line has always given up their quarterbacks, and for some reason, it's year by year. Doesn't matter who's under center, be Brock Osweiler, Jay Cutler, as it Matt Moore, Ryan Tannehill, Teddy Bridgewater, Tua. Either way, a Miami Dolphin quarterback. I have been alive for like 21 years. I have my 21 years. I've never seen a Miami Dolphin quarterback be healthy throughout an entire season. At least in my memory. I just can't put down a moment where like it was just a healthy, clean offense. So with that being said, I mean, is Tua the next guy for the Miami Dolphins to push them further? I think from what we've seen his production throughout his career, his early career, he's been able to win tough games. I mean, the schedule that the Miami Dolphins have had for the past 2 seasons, they're not easy games. I mean, you look at, of course, the beginning of the schedule, sure, fairly easy. The Bills, week 2, but later on you go on and have, the Jets down the road. You go on and have yourself, a couple of cupcake games in Miami where you go against a team like, the Cleveland Browns, who obviously weren't all that until Deshaun Watson came in later on in the season. But it's also like I just can't really see Tua go deep into the postseason though. That's the thing. I mean, it's either he's Steve Young or the second coming of it, or he's just going to be another guy that's going to be injured reserve. And I don't want to say, a Rosen type quarterback in the future, but I mean, Tua in different colors, that might be his future, honestly, if he doesn't pick up his act and push this team. And it's not even his fault. That's the worst part about it. And again, Jock, as a South Floridian fan, the team can be horrible all the time.
of
But
course,
when they're going, I want them winning. You
of
know what I
course.
mean? Like 2 straight winning seasons for the Miami Dolphins, 2 different head coaches, quarterback issues, injury issues. somehow Miami's able to get a winning season out of it, but it doesn't feel like that half of the time. I just can't put a pin on it though. I mean, honestly, I do think that Tua, he is the guy from the front office standpoint. But if Lamar Jackson, like for example, if Lamar Jackson, like hypothetically, is available, I'm picking him up over Tua. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, I've been. What have I said for months before this was even a conception? I said it. Like, Tua ain't the guy. Get Lamar. I told you the Ravens haven't been doing anything
At all. Plus, not even that. I mean, if you look at the roster right now, this is a team. If Lamar joins in, that's a Super Bowl team because the wide receiver group, it's what everything he wanted in Baltimore. He wanted more wide receivers. He doesn't have that over there. So come to Miami. He doesn't have much in a running back besides Dobbins. He goes to Miami. Mostert. Honestly, I feel like next year Pro Bowl, undisputed Pro Bowl. But either way, hot take or not, that's what I think. But I think the running back room is going to be really improving next year. Plus, with Joseph and Mostert now actually having a full season, and then of course, as I mentioned before, wide receivers stacked. The tight end, Gesicki and Smythe. Smythe actually did a really phenomenal job this season. I don't know what the exact stats are, but I saw him everywhere on that playbook that McDaniels had. So I think besides, maybe you keep Armstead going. Hopefully, he actually lives up to the contract and what he was prior when he was in New Orleans. But besides that, Lamar Jackson comes to this Miami offense. And the way that the defense of the Dolphins have been playing, they should be fine. Byron Jones will be healthy next year. Xavier Howard has to step it up. And Holland, hopefully he elevates that game of himself. But the Dolphins should be fine upcoming, though. That's what I think.
I think they signed the Dolphins got Bradley Chubb. I think they should try to get rid of Bradley Chubb since it didn't work out.
Really?
Get rid of him. Get some maybe a pick or two. Use that for the offensive line, and then that will help Lamar out even way more. Give him more time to either run it or pass it. Or you can use maybe one-on-one, maybe an offensive tackle or defensive tackle, whichever one. Mix and match it. Make both sides of the ball better, and then give the money to Lamar. I'm telling you, it's either try to stop Lamar from running, or he's like, screw it. Oh, there's Tyreek, there's Waddle, Gesicki, or Wilson ready right there. Boop.
It's automatic, and not even that. I mean, besides what I would say, and again, another take. There's 3 quarterbacks. That is Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen,
Joe Burrow.
No, Lamar Jackson. Those are the 3. Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty's in his own category, I think.
Oh, you think his own status?
Hey. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit biased with a Pompano kid. And also, I didn't even think about that, too. Lamar Jackson, a South Florida native. What was the last time there was a South Florida native here that, the fans of Miami were behind, right?
So I'm saying.
Cinco maybe in his last few years. I mean, it'll be huge. It'll be huge for the city. Shoot, I'll buy the jersey. You know what I mean?
The only thing I can see is Udonis Haslam. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and UD, I mean, he's been worth the contract this year, though. He's been starting some games.
Yeah, because the whole entire team is trash. They're always injured. They can't do anything.
Yeah, I know we're going to go into Heat later on, but let's stick with Wild Card Weekend, though. Because, of course, even though this is South Floridian type of podcast, we're not just revolved around that, especially with the NFL going full swing in the playoffs. Super Wild Card Weekend was insane. The Jags-Chargers game, insane comeback. Let's talk about that first, actually, because I know there was games before that, but screw that.
Yeah.
It was always the Jags. And again, this is actually, I think, the first time or whatever that all Floridian teams are in the playoffs for the NFL. So as a Floridian, I'm just jumping the boat straight to the Jags. I'm skipping Tom Brady. I'm going straight Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars down 27-0, I think, was the score. They come back and win it 31-30. And the craziest thing about it, the beginning of that game, what was it, 5 turnovers and 4 of them was all interceptions from Trevor Lawrence? The kid of Clemson, man. I mean, honestly, if you told me from that draft day that they got Lawrence and ETN on the same draft class in the first round and said that, yeah, that team will go into the playoffs and win games, I would have called you crazy. I never had faith in ETN. ETN showed up in that one. ETN was phenomenal. Actually, I'm just going to look at the stats real quick for him, for
Yeah.
ETN. We're talking about 20 carries. In those 20 carries, he averaged about 5.5 yards. He ended up finishing off with 109 yards. And speaking of one of those 109 yards, a clutch 4-1 first down run to take him into field goal range for a game-winning kick. I'm a little bit speechless of it. I don't even know where to start with this game. But Jonka, I'm pretty sure you saw this game. What was your thoughts on it, man?
When I saw this game was 17-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was after the first quarter. I knew I was like, oh my god, man! I wanted this game to be competitive, and then it was 27-7.
Oh, 7.
And I'm like, okay, maybe we got something.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But then all of a sudden, there goes Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
The Netsian. And I'm like, oh my god, don't tell me this, bro. Like, don't tell me, because I want to see Justin Herbert succeed. He's really good.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, they score another one. It's 27-21 or something like that. And I was just like, oh no, please, 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 no, don't do this to me.
So you were rooting for the Chargers, though?
I was rooting for the Chargers.
Ah.
But hey, I didn't really have a preference. I just wanted
No, yeah, of course,
I just wanted Herbert to do something this year.
Right.
But then once the Jaguars made that comeback, I started getting the feeling they're the team. They're the Cincinnati Bengals from last year, catching everybody off guard.
Right.
But now Jacksonville has to play the Chiefs, right?
Yep, in Kansas City. Kind of a death sentence. Who knows? Again, what they say in Jacksonville, it was always the Jags. So, they got a lot of like steam going ahead of them. Coming off of what, like 6 straight wins. The big win in their last Week 18 game against the Titans. Yeah, because whatever that win streak is,
3, 4, 5. Yeah, before Saturday, it was 5 straight wins.
5 straight wins before that historically postseason game that Jacksonville had. They're coming off of a high off of that, going into the postseason. Then this is like, I don't even know what you can put yourself on top of Mount Everest for your self-esteem right now with this team going to Kansas City. And is Trevor Lawrence really going to go out of his way to do what really I think everyone's going to think the unthinkable, right? His first ever postseason play, crazy comeback, going to Arrowhead, getting the win against Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. Is he going to be able to push himself that further to get to the AFC Championship game? Because there's been a lot of teams randomly that have been, getting those type of runs, right? We didn't see it too long ago with the Cleveland Browns going down to the AFC Championship with Baker Mayfield. And not even that, this same Jacksonville franchise in 2017, crazy run going to the AFC Championship as well with the Saxonville defense of Campbell as well as Ramsey that used to be on that squad. But I feel really confident about this Jacksonville team, though. I think they can really go deep. Now, if they win an Arrowhead, I have no idea. I kind of think they're going to lose that one in a close one. But if they do make it out there and defeat Kansas City, they're going to win the whole thing. They're going to win the whole thing. I think the Buffalo Bills are a little bit suspect after that close game against Miami, even though it was their 3rd time ever playing against each other this season. And division rivals usually know each other better than others. But Jacksonville, the Jaguars, they got the quarterback. I think the main thing about them, of course, is mistakes. The 5 turnovers in that first half closed them out. And then Doug Peterson got smart, going down, playing out some things here and there, small bit of passes, and then taking huge chunks of yards to set up some sort of long bomb. Yeah. But also the receivers of this team. Let's just look a little bit of their stats, though. Evan Ingram, right, that they got this year. 93 yards, a touchdown. Christian Kirk, a guy they paid a lot for,
A
and
lot.
everyone was questioning about it. It came out big later on at the end of the year, 78 yards and a touchdown off of 8 receptions. Zay Jones, a lot of people thought of him kind of being overpaid as well because there wasn't a lot of things that we knew about him, but now we know a lot about him. He ended up knowing out to get out 74 yards and a touchdown in that postseason game. And again, this is a team that I mentioned before. If they start winning, they're not going to stop winning. So Kansas City is going to be a really close one, though. But you think that Jacksonville has a chance over there in Arrowhead?
I think they do. What
Hmm.
they what it can happen is what happened in the Chargers.
Right.
They cannot go down 17-20-0 and expect to come back against Patrick Mahomes. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen again. If it does,
No.
Jacksonville deserves to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if they can hold it, if they can make it close and make it close late,
Right.
I could see Jacksonville getting a little bit like, hey, we can do this, we can do this, hyping themselves up, making a big play here, make a play there, and the game's gonna be at 4:30 in the afternoon, so it's gonna hey,
It's gonna be rowdy though. It's gonna be rowdy. I mean, those Kansas City fans, they tailgate till like 2 a.m. though. So
facts.
it's gonna be interesting, I'm telling you. But let's move on from that game though, and let's go on to, of course, the other ones. The 49ers and Seahawks were the first one of that wild card weekend. 49ers winning it 41-23 over the Seattle Seahawks. And that was a game that was kind of close in the beginning, right? Seattle led 17-16, I think, at one point in that game. And then Brock Purdy, and I have to say, the second coming of Tom Brady 2.0 possibly. Brock Purdy just was phenomenal, though. 332 yards and 3 touchdowns for Mr. Irrelevant for the 49ers. I mean,
Tough.
it's an interesting team, Jonko. It's an interesting team because the 49ers somehow, some way, no matter if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, if it's Trey Lance, if it's Brock Purdy now, it's so weird to say that the 49ers are anytime out when it comes to postseason play. We're talking about a 49er team that won in Lambeau with Jimmy Garoppolo and almost made it to another Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams last season. We're talking about the same 49ers that went to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo and barely had much of a defensive team on that standpoint. And now we look at this team now with Mr. Irrelevant, literally the last pick from last year's draft, has the starting quarterback, and they're dominating teams like Seattle, 41-23. Do you think like San Fran has a chance right now in the NFC?
I don't see. I don't mean. I think as of right now, I gotta see how the Eagles play against the Giants.
Right.
But as of right now, the 49ers look dangerous.
They look
But we say that
insane.
every year. They always look super good. They always have a good defense. They got Debo, they got Kittle, they got
Right.
Ayuk. Now they have McCaffrey, and their quarterback. You just have to have a competent quarterback on that team to succeed.
Exactly. And speaking of McCaffrey ended up having 119 yards in this one.
Disgusting.
But as you mentioned before with Debo Samuel, and I had him on my fantasy team for one of my leagues because like you need to have Debo Samuel on your fantasy team. 133 yards and a touchdown in this one as the 49ers move on. And of course, Seattle going home. And Geno Smith, the South Florida kid, 2 touchdowns, interception, 253 yards. And former Hurricane running back DJ Dallas in his first action of playoff, I believe. 6 carries, 13 yards. Couldn't
Yeah.
really beat out in reps against Kenneth Walker, but he got next year, though. He's got next year.
Yeah, the 49ers defense, I think they're number one in run defense in the league. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what I read. So yeah, I can. Poor DJ Dallas, he went into the wrong team at the wrong time.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, there was also a lot of speculation of, if it's the NFL rigged, I don't even think so. Because if the NFL was really rigged, the Green Bay Packers would have been playing in that game. You know what I mean? They definitely would have Aaron Rodgers going to San Fran and finishing off there. Either way, instead of going to conspiracy theories, let's go to the last two games that we saw from Sunday, as you mentioned before, with the Giants and Eagles matchup coming up. The Giants Vikings game. Now that was one to watch. Daniel Jones, aka Danny Dimes. I've been a huge advocate for him his entire career, ever since he got out of Duke. I think he honestly was a great fit for New York, being again another Eli Manning, but an Eli Manning with wheels and an Eli Manning that he's just built to run. Like you watch him, these quarterback run, the design plays for Daniel Jones to go on and cross the edge of the line. He does it with confidence, though, and his confidence led him to this win. We talk about 301 yards passing, 2 touchdowns for Daniel Jones, and 78 yards, believe it or not, leading the team in rushing yards in this game with 78. Saquon was right behind him with 53, but Saquon did have 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. But John, are the Giants real? That's probably going to be my question after this one.
Are the Giants real? They're defensively, yes, they're there. Defensively, they can stop some people.
Right.
But offensively, I think they're missing. They need a star wide receiver, man.
Yeah.
They need that guy.
Yeah, because besides Darius Slayton, you do have a bunch of, and again, it feels like a Green Bay team, right? Where it's Devontae Adams and then somebody else is out there. I'm looking right now the receivers besides Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, right? Richie James, Daniel Bellinger, Lawrence Cager.
Bro, I'm telling you.
Saquon Barkley was 3rd in receiving yards in this game, a running back. So you might be right about that, Jonker, though. I'm not going to lie to you.
I had when the Giants played the Cowboys and they knew it was a tight game the whole way. Mm-hmm. I felt like if the Giants had wide receivers, good wide receivers, they would have won. Because I feel like Daniel Jones, he's I don't know what it is, he's being held back because he has no one to throw it to. I feel like he has an arm.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And he's honestly progressed his career. Yeah.
You give him some dude to throw to, I don't know who, maybe somebody in the free agency or in the draft, Jordan Addison from USC maybe.
It's possible.
You give him some speed and you give him something that can get open. It will open up the entire field for everybody else because you're going to be doubling him. Watch how everything changes, and he's like, all right, now who am I going to throw to next? That's what.
Yeah. That's what we want for anybody's franchise. That's what you want for your quarterback,
Exactly.
Yeah, but I was saying though, as his career progressed, we saw that he was developing on this way to becoming what we see now today, a quarterback that can win in the postseason on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. And now we flip the script here to talk about Minnesota. If this game was at 1:00, maybe a different outcome for Kirk Cousins. The best player to play at afternoon was playing around 4:00, and he ended up losing this one. And he had it wasn't a bad stat line. He only had 8, incompletions in this game when he was throwing the ball, 273 yards with 2 touchdowns. And it's not a bad day. It's not a bad day. However, because again, this game was going back and forth. And I did hear this earlier from a friend of mine, that even though a 13-4 team, statistically one of the worst 13-4 teams ever to be with that record in the NFL. Now, is that on Kirk Cousins? Not really, no. It's probably just because they've been able to get all these close wins throughout their entire schedule. However, you can also blame it on the play call, because for some reason, and I don't know what it was, either you say
the last play?
Yeah, that last play for Minnesota, either it was the play call for the setup for Kirk Cousins or Kirk Cousins throwing it to Hawkins with 3 yards to gain after the catch.
Bro, it was the worst. Nowhere near. Bro.
It was the worst thing I've seen in a long while, man. Since maybe Russell Wilson in the Super Bowl. Won't put it on that level, but to give you an idea, season's on the line, and Kirk Cousins decide to throw 3 yards even though a 4th and 8th was what he was dealing with. So is it Kirk Cousins? Was it the coaching staff on that? What? Just Jocko, what do you think happened there?
The only reason I'm not putting this in the coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm blaming this on Kirk Cousins, is because he's been in the league for so long. He should be like, why am I gonna throw it under the target, under the you know what I mean?
Yeah, under the first down line.
Yeah, and so you think about it, like, hey, coach, why am I gonna throw it to a tight end with a guy in front of him, and it's behind the first down marker on the very last play that could be the very last play of our season?
Yeah, a 13-4 season at home.
Why not make a play for Justin Jefferson, our best receiver, to go up there, at least get a quick one, and we keep the play alive?
Right. It's a no-brainer. You think Kurt's got it.
I think Kirk should have just been like, Coach, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that one. I mean, it doesn't hurt to just like say no. Just say no. Let's do something else. Let's give it just give it a JJ or KJ Osborne or something. Exactly. But not Hawkinson, bro. What do you mean?
Especially with 3 yards. That's the thing that gets me though. It looked like he was going out anyway.
Yeah.
If he's going out, that's not close to the first down marker. Why even have him as an option? Why even read that? Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
That's like, bro. It's like maybe that wasn't the play that was intended, but it was like Kirk Cousins is like, oh man, I think I'm gonna get pressured. Let me roll out to the right for a second. There's Hawkinson. Boop. That's the first guy he sees.
Yeah, I mean,
and he thought maybe he was gonna be able to like swerve him around or juke him or something. I'm like,
yeah,
Kirk,
it was
just retire.
It was definitely. I don't even know what to even say about that one, man. But it was definitely something to witness. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But so as Minnesota makes their way out of the playoffs and the Giants go in, the last game of the night was the Baltimore Ravens at Cincinnati playing against the Bengals. And this one, again, close games, more surprising than a lot of people thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
A lot more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. Joe Burrow was able to get it out, though. 24-17 win over the Ravens. But this was a tight one. Low scoring at the first quarter, 3-0 coming out of that first quarter, going to the second quarter with Cincinnati leading. And then the Ravens, they kind of explode. They got 10 points in that second quarter. And even a team like Baltimore, who's been playing with Huntley for the majority of their season so far, without Lamar Jackson, Huntley was able to produce a lot. Got 2 touchdowns, interception, 226 yards. However, it wasn't going to be enough to lead them away from the Cincinnati team. When you thought that they were going to be able to put the nail in the coffin and get the lead, and this is like the fourth quarter going down like the remaining minutes, I believe it was Hubbard that got that touchdown.
Yeah, bro.
The Cincinnati kid.
Listen, I was on my phone, and I'm like, okay, let me look up for the play.
Right.
And I see this guy jump over, and I see this guy just gets like rejected, like and right into Hubbard's hand, and he's like, go.
For whatever yards, 99 yards, 98 yards, whatever it was, a Troy Polamalu type of play where a guy bats the ball away when Huntley's trying to like dive in for that touchdown for Baltimore. Hubbard's able to receive it behind him, run it down, and that was to be, of course, as we see now, the deciding points of the game as they win 24-17. So in a miraculous defensive stand at the goal line, able to get a touchdown off of that. And you could say fumble, I guess, fumble, recover, touchdown, whatever it is. The Cincinnati Bengals move on to the next round, and they will be kind of not shaken up because this is a team that obviously has the pieces with Joe Shiesty and the receiving core that include Chase and Higgins. But a game like this, as close as it was, and now you're gonna go against, I believe, the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo.
which I find, excuse me for sorry for excuse,
No,
but I'm gonna say something right now. I'm gonna say this right now. This is why I call bullshit on that game that was called off and canceled, because the Bengals were up on that game 7-3, and like around I think they were up 7-3. If the Bengals would have won that game, the Bengals would be playing at home against the Bills this coming weekend. So
right.
now the Bengals have to play the Bills at Buffalo. You see how
Yeah.
this is working out?
No, yeah. I mean, either way you look at it, though, definitely change the season for both squads, better or worse. But either way, Cincinnati going to Buffalo, do you think they still have a lot of confidence in themselves after escaping a close one against Baltimore? You think Cincinnati is able to go into Buffalo and really compete there, or you think it's kind of just said and done? The Bills win that one.
Do I think the Bills beat the Bengals?
Do you think the Bills beat the Bengals, or do you think the Bengals after this game they kind of lose that confidence?
What do you mean the Bills lose confidence?
No, no, no. I'm saying like the Bengals after a close game
Oh,
against Baltimore going
no.
into Buffalo. You think that they kind of lose confidence and lose that game, or you think that the Bengals can compete with the Bills?
I think the Bengals should be confident against the Bills,
Hmm.
because you just saw what a third string quarterback just did to them. And then we got Joe Burrow, we got T. Higgins, we
Right.
got Boyd, we got Chase, we got Mixon, they got P. Ryan, and then they got Hayden Hurst. They got maybe some other one that I'm forgetting about. And then it's like, okay, if they can put up 30, we could definitely put up more. And I think right now the Ravens defense is either a little bit better now than the Buffalo Bills defense.
Right.
And we scored 24. So I think the Bengals should be able to take it. I think the Bengals should take it, even though everything that's happened with Hamlin and everything like that.
Right.
I mean, people use that as like a thing
Uh-huh.
that they should be motivated because, oh yeah, let's do this for Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're saying let's do this for Hamlin, and the Buffalo Bills go out and play like that against the Dolphins with
Yeah.
Skylar Thompson as QB, I'm sorry, nah.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals go in there. It's not gonna be a blowout, but
Mhm.
maybe they win by 10. I think Bengals go in there and they win 30. No, 37-27.
37-27. All right. I'll definitely go over to Vegas, put that in, and then I'll put, of course, Bengals money line included. So the AFC is all set up now. We'll be having Bills, Bengals, and of course, Chiefs against Jacksonville. And of course, I mean, the NFC is not decided yet. I think the Cowboys Tampa Bay game is still going on as we're recording this right now. So we'll see exactly who the Eagles and then as well who do the Giants play. Um, Now we're going to go away from football. I know we've been on this topic for a majority of the show, 43 minutes, talking about NFL wildcard. Time flies when you're talking football, but now let's switch gears to Miami Heat basketball. Now, John, I know you're not watching a lot of Heat games because I know you said at the beginning of the season since they're off season,
Yep.
whatever this offseason was, offseason structure builds, keep the team together, whatever it was, you said that you weren't going to be watching them. However, the Miami Heat this season, we're looking back at them. They had a couple of good games in the past week. We're talking about 2 games at home against Milwaukee, back-to-back
Wait,
games where they win.
no Giannis or no Middleton. So scratch it.
You can't just scratch it, though. They're big wins.
With no Giannis,
Sure, you don't have like the best players on the court. I think Giannis was in one of them. I know Middleton wasn't though. Middleton's been out for a long time. But But yeah, for the Miami Heat, at least they've been kind of trending upwards, right? From those 2 wins against Milwaukee. Prior to that, they won against OKC at home as well. They
Mhm.
broke a free throw record in
Yeah.
one of the craziest ways. 40 straight made field free, free throws at the line. They were able to make those, and one of them, Jimmy Butler, and one, he converted it to give them the win 112 to 111 over the Thunder at FTX, which is now going to be called Miami-Dade Arena,
As
which
for the
we'll
time
go
being.
into. And then today, actually, in Atlanta, they lost against the Hawks.
Hmm.
From this team, I'm seeing like their upcoming schedule. We're talking about 2 road games against the Pelicans, against Dallas. Those are going to be hard ones. Top of the teams in the Western Conference, in my opinion, are going to be on the road for the Miami Heat in the future. Then they come home to play Boston. No, yeah, Boston. My apologies. Boston on the 24th, and then they get an easy break at the end of the month against Orlando at home. Then they go to the Hornets, who I believe are probably the worst team right now in the NBA. And then if you also look at them in the standings, because this is a play-in team, Jonka, the Miami Heat, they're not too bad themselves. They're right there on the brink, 7th in the East, right below the New York Knicks, a game away below them. And there is a game coming up February 2nd against New York in Madison Square Garden for the Miami Heat. And that could be potentially for that 6th seed. So the Heat right now trending up. But, Jonka, what is, because again, I know you don't watch a lot of Heat basketball since
Hmm.
their off season, but is there a way you might sneak back into Bally Sports TV, see Eric Reed broadcasting, or is this
The
me
only
saying no?
way, this is the only way I will jump back in.
Okay,
I need to see Deadman be less of a liability on the court,
very true, very true.
and I need to see Duncan Robinson get back to the way he was, a sharpshooter, making threes, and I want to see him improve his defense. Like he's riding the bench right now, so
Yeah,
I'm hoping during all this time that he's on the bench and in practice, he's been practicing his defense.
no, yeah. I mean,
I don't think that's the case. So at this moment, I haven't seen anything that would want me to get back into the Heat basketball.
the Miami Heat right now, as I mentioned before, 7th in the Eastern Conference, a record of 24 and 21. A lot of time left in this season. Right now, above 500. And Jimmy Butler leading the way for them. 5th in All Star voting for the Eastern Conference front court. So far, he has 688,993 votes in All Star voting. And surprising enough, Bam Adebayo isn't there. However, it's still a long way to go. Bam Adebayo has also been really phenomenal this season, especially as Tyler Hero, who kind of started more games this year compared to the previous years he's been with the Miami Heat. But the Heat right now, the Heat is on. They're on the rise. I have to admit it myself, being a Celtic fan, but the Heat are on the rise. And speaking of the Miami Heat, there have been a lot of stuff going on off the court. And there's 2 things I want to talk about, Jonka.
Mhm.
One, because again, as I mentioned before, Miami-Dade Arena. They could have just got Dade out and put Miami Arena back in. Like we literally done this before. It's how we started as a franchise here in South Beach. You put
Exactly.
Miami Arena back on the mic. You put the Vice little, like neon lights. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. It's a marketing failure that they're able to do that for Miami Dade.
Because I feel like Miami right now, as I'm gonna call out the commissioners,
Right.
all the mayors, the commissioners, the governors, whatever you want to call themselves, the state officials.
Mm-hmm.
All of you are some sneaky bastards. You just want that little tax check
Right.
from whatever company wants to come in and get the naming rights to the stadium. That's all they're looking for.
It's all they want. And I mean, again, you got to run a city. You got to, you know what I mean? You got to do your job. And for the Miami Heat, they definitely needed help, though, from the FTX. FTX going bankrupt and having to deal away with his 19-year deal with the Miami Heat for the name. But the Miami Heat now playing in the Miami-Dade Arena. And the last thing I want to talk about for Heat basketball, I want to find a good picture of this because this is definitely worth a good picture. The Miami Heat finally decided, instead of doing a crazy mashup jersey, instead of doing a Miami Vice, instead of doing a mustard gold championship jersey, they decide to go out of their way and deep into the closet to bring out one of these jerseys. Let me just find a good photo of it. There we go. The old fashioned 1990s Miami Heat jersey. It's a clean
Finally.
jersey. It's an all white jersey. It's got the good font too. Nike Tech built like that. It's probably the best Heat jersey besides the association jerseys and the Floridian jerseys and the White Hot jerseys. This is a top five Miami Heat all time jersey, in my opinion. That's what I think.
I would have to say my favorite jerseys have to be the black and white ones. When LeBron first came in, there
Oh,
was
those are clean
all
though.
black and then the
Yeah.
white lettering, the outline.
Yeah, the white outline. You know
Oh,
what I
that's
wish?
blackout.
Yeah. Yeah, those were nice ones. You know what I wish they used to do? Because now they're doing it a lot more. The court would change with the different jerseys that they wear per game now
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of these NBA teams. Imagine a Miami Heat blacked out court with the blacked out jerseys. It looked like a pro am, probably a my team type of court that you
Yeah,
see on 2K. But I would definitely want to see that for Miami, though. I would want to see the Miami Heat playing in a unique court like that. Because in the past, they've definitely, they haven't failed us yet. The Miami Vice court, definitely one to remember for a lot of Heat fans. The court that they have now looks pretty cool. I know they got the Heat ball with different little colors here and there with their different fonts of the jersey that they do now, which I think still one of the front looks amazing. The back is like the ugliest jersey I've ever seen. But hopefully Heat do more of that in the future. But that's all we got to talk about Heat basketball because there's a lot still going on that season. However, heating up right now is the Miami Hurricanes men's basketball team. As we started this podcast, the Hurricanes were able to get a win against Syracuse and was a much needed win. The 17th
yeah.
team of the nation on AP poll was able to get it done. And
They were
John,
down.
I'm sure you watched that team like a hawk. Tell us a little bit about you in basketball.
Listen, they're a good team,
Right.
and I knew coming in they got this new guy, Nigel Peck. He was a
Mhm.
transfer. I forgot from where. I'll let you guys know. But I have a beef right now with the NCAA and how they're ranking these teams. Because a couple weeks ago, let me see when it was in December. It was that Virginia game that I told you about.
Yep.
Okay, we beat them, right?
In a close one.
At that time, we were 22nd in the rankings, and the Virginia Cavaliers were number 6. We
Mhm.
beat them. Then after we go and we beat Notre Dame. So there we go. We're at momentum. Miami was on a one. Let me see here. I'll let you know right now.
All right.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They were on a 9-game win streak after beating Virginia and Notre Dame. And then once they come out with the rankings, they still put Virginia in front of Miami.
No sense.
We had an overall better record, overall
Mhm.
ACC record, and yet they still ranked Virginia in front of us. Then like 2 weeks ago, since they canceled one of their games, we had to wait like another 2 weeks before we played, which was on the 4th of January. We lost to Georgia Tech. We lost by 6.
Yep.
Then this 11th, this past Wednesday, we played Boston College. We beat them. Then we just lost Saturday in overtime to NC State. We beat them earlier in the season. They're a good team. I think they had a couple They had a couple more votes to get in, but they're not in yet. Now today we beat Syracuse, 82-78. What is it gonna take for us to get over Virginia? Because Virginia now is they're ranked 10. They're 10th in the country. Yet we beat Virginia. We're higher than Clemson, which is 7-0 in the ACC.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does Virginia have over us? We beat them already.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to admit though, Virginia has been trending up, and the Canes. I mean, 2-2 in the last 4 games, though. It's been a weird couple of games in the past few days for the Hurricanes. I mean, of course, they still hold to be one of the stronger teams out there, and
Yeah.
especially ACC basketball. That's going to be one of the best conferences to do it in collegiate men's. So the Hurricanes, they got a lot of time left, though, but they're kind of, I don't know, is just the trend down a little bit, though. I think that's kind of scaring a lot of people.
I don't mind the trend down. I don't mind us being lower than Virginia.
Right.
I just wanted the credit that for us being over Virginia at the time that we beat Virginia. They ranked us 13 and then they put Virginia at 12. And so I'm like
Yeah.
that's like a shot. Like we just beat them and
Yeah.
yet you have us lower than them.
Yeah, if anything, even just switch it around, like just put us one ahead, at least.
Exactly. But no, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And then they go and they cancel one game, they reschedule it for like a week after. And so we go like a week and a half without playing. Or then they play us against like a 12-2 team, and then and then we lose. And then, this team isn't what we thought they were. I'm like, bro, we don't play for a week and a half, and then you just put us against this team that just played like 3 days ago. What do you expect?
I mean, and guys need to get in a groove too coming out. But as I mentioned before, 2-2 in the last 4 games for the Hurricanes. They still hold a 14-3 record. And real quick, I'm going to just go through the rankings right now. The top 25 teams in the nation for men's basketball. Number 25, Arkansas. 24, Florida Atlantic, who has only lost a single game this entire year with a 16-1 record. They've definitely been a different program this season. 23, Rutgers. 22, Providence. 21, Baylor. 20, Marquette. 19, Clemson. Charleston at 18. That's a little bit of a surprise in my opinion. 17, of course, being the Hurricanes. Auburn at 16. UConn at 15. They used to be one of the top 5 teams in the nation, but then they ended up getting a real, honestly, kind of an embarrassing loss. I forgot the team that they were defeated. I think it was St. John's. Either way, UConn drops 9 spots down to number 15 in the nation. Ahead of them is TCU at 14, Kansas State at 13, Iowa State 12, Arizona 11, top 10, Virginia Cavaliers, which we argue, of course. Again, very similar records of 13-3 as well in the ACC. However, they moved up a couple of spots, 3 spots to be exact. Tennessee at number 9, Xavier at 8, 7, Texas, who I'm still kind of high on, coming into, midway January. Maybe they kind of get things going on February. That could be a team to watch by March. Yeah. Gonzaga at 6, UCLA at 5, Alabama. A lot of news surrounding Alabama, not for the best reasons. However,
yeah, I saw, right? It was
they had a player that was convicted of, I believe it was capital murder, which is a very serious charge. So
yeah, that's not good.
I don't want to talk too much about it until we get all the facts on that. However, that's going on right now in that program as Alabama, the Crimson Tide, sitting at 4th in men's basketball collegiate rankings for AP. In the top 3, Purdue at 3, Kansas Jayhawks number 2, and the number 1 team in the nation, according to the Associated Press, Houston. Houston with a 17-1 record in the American Athletic Association.
It is so weird not to see UNC and Duke in the top 10.
It's really weird. And honestly, I think it's not even that for the ACC. It's a change for like the top dog in that conference, because we talk about Coach K leaving in his first year. Yeah. They're not even close to a top 25 team, in my opinion. We talk about how many teams are in the ACC that we counted. Clemson, 1. 2. We look at Virginia, 3. Duke's not even close to a top 3 ACC school. for men's basketball this year at least. This year at least. Historically, obviously, you give them, the credit. But this year, we talk about Clemson, UM, and Virginia. And honestly, I think for men's basketball down the road, it's going to be UM and Virginia. Virginia, they won that national championship not too long ago. UM fighting to get to that stage for the Final Four. However, they made like the Elite Eight, I think, last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And that was an insane run that they had to go through. And I believe they lost against the Trojans of Southern
No,
Cal. Was
they
it not
lost
the
to
Trojans?
Kansas this
Oh,
past season. They lost to Kansas.
apologies. But either way, though, I mean, they've been going against top teams and they've been able to compete against top teams.
Yeah.
So UM is definitely on the rise as well as Virginia. Watch out for that to be a matchup to come in the future, and maybe even another South Florida rivalry, though. I mean, that'd be nice, though. I mean, there's not a lot of teams in Virginia that you can go really root against besides the Commanders. But
I think UM is missing um maybe like a consistent shooter and a big. They don't.
that
They're
is,
missing that. They're missing that guy at the five.
yeah.
You need rebounds. They're
Yeah,
kind of
but
small.
it'll be hard though, man. It'll be hard because again, a lot of it comes down to recruiting, just like when you look at football. So they got to go out there and beat all these Big Ten, these SEC type of programs to go out and recruit bigs because the ACC, I mean, they've gotten a couple of good bigs back in the day, but a lot of them are not coming down close to the state of Florida. At least in my remembrance or whatever you want to call it. I just don't remember a big man in the state of Florida that's really doing a lot and getting recruited down here. Besides, of course, now with the Florida Gators, Colin Castleton, who actually won SEC Player of the Week his fourth time. I ended up writing a brief about that for the Alligator. But either way, though, that'll be the end of our show. We passed by the hour mark. It was a great talk, Jonka, as always. Make sure that for those viewers, thank you again for joining us late on this Monday. As we always do this podcast Monday at 9 p.m. So make sure to be in tune of that for next week, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Support the troops, guys.